Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. House of the Dragon, episode 4, one of the naughtiest episodes in Game of Thrones history. An episode that makes us question the morals of all the characters we love. I think Game of Thrones is the only show in the world where the audience get excited when those sexy silver-haired dragon riders keep it in the family. Obviously, spoilers throughout, but as always before we start, if you're a fan of the channel, you like what you see, please consider subscribing. I will be doing an episode 5 trailer breakdown shortly after this, and I know you guys really enjoy those, but for now let's get on to the episode. Episode 4, The King of the Narrow Sea. Daemon Targaryen makes his glorious return to King's Landing. He's triumphant at the Stepstones against the Crab Feeder, but now Daemon is on his way back to King's Landing to put on a show for his brother. And guys, he nearly knocks Rhaenyra's ship right over when flying by on Caraxes. In fact, Rhaenyra falls over her feet and bangs her head. Best character on the show, and that's not saying the other characters are far beneath him. The cast is much smaller than that of the main show right now, but the core characters we have are just so enjoyable, whether we love them or hate them, or both. But yeah, Daemon walks into his brother's throne room, bearing a crown of his own. It's a grand old affair, with the nobles lined up to see the rogue princess return, including Princess Rhaenyra, who has just came home early from a tour of the realm to find a new husband. I think they said it was 2 months early, so that's not going to go down well for father. He's trying to find her a husband, and he's told her, you can choose, you go out and find someone, but she hasn't done that, and she's come home early. But she's also wearing the Valyrian steel necklace that Daemon gifted to her in episode 1, so you know where it's all going. We only caught the tail end of the tour. We got to see it at Storm's End, where she's presented old dudes and little boys and everything in between, who are all there not for her, not for the princess, but rather what she is. What she has, in fact, her royal womb. And this is the first time we've seen Storm's End, the seat of House Baratheon. The castle was never in Game of Thrones. We only got to see the main hall here, so that was a bit of a disappointment. But it's better than the travesty of Highgarden or Castle Rock from Season 7. But this is Game of Thrones, it was not a dull affair, and the age-old feud between House Blackwood and House Bracken is brought up once again for another round, and the scrawny little Blackwood lord that they were all taking the piss out of ended that Bracken jackass. And there are so many little nods to the books that make this show just a tad better. We're all here for the Targaryens and the dragons, the sex and the violence, but it's these little nods to the books, these little references that just make the show a little bit better. But yes, Rhaenyra's cut the tour short, just in time to see her uncle return, and Daemon teases opposing his brother, but in reality it's just one big game for him. He bends the knee, he gives his brother his crown, the sword of the Crab Feeder to add to the chair, and is welcomed back with open arms. Daemon was banished in episode 1, but he's back now, but he's going to screw it up in no time. But for a little bit, we get House Targaryen playing happy families, and King Viserys is at his best when he's drunk. He's just so brutally honest. And I did laugh when Alicent suggests to her husband to take Daemon to see the new gallery, but Viserys bursts out laughing saying Daemon is not interested. And I think we've all been in an awkward family situation like that. And I also loved when Viserys was telling everyone that Daemon was their mother's favourite. And Viserys wasn't much of a warrior. And if you think about it, he's not much of a king, nor a dragon rider either. But obviously this is all short-lived, as we know. We love the drama. But we also appreciate the happier moments. And I honestly could listen to Daemon and Rhaenyra speaking in High Valyrian all day. But it wouldn't be Game of Thrones without all the politics and the drama. The Sea Snake is still angry at Viserys for choosing Alicent over Laena, so he plans on marrying his daughter, his pure-blooded Valyrian daughter, who will one day become a dragon rider, to a Braavosi lord. So obviously the Crown is not keen on that idea. They'll have to step in to marry Rhaenyra off to Laenor Velaryon to mend the fractured relationship. And obviously a potential dragon rider, Laena marrying someone in Essos is a no-go. So they'll have to sort that one out as well. But now, the main event, why you're all here, the naughty stuff. Daemon sends Rhaenyra a disguise and instructions to meet him outside. He's going to show her the nightlife of King's Landing. Something as a princess she's never had to experience. And we get a glimpse of the world outside her window. She has a drink or two, sees a rather unflattering play about her family. She hears that the commoners are not keen on her taking the throne. She bumps into a face that she'll never forget. Harwin Strong, who is currently a member of the Gold Cloaks. Yeah, that's the guy at the end that had the big smile on his face. Remember that face. And oh yeah, Daemon takes her to a brothel, where she gets to see a whole bunch of naked people going at it. Guys and girls, girls and girls, guys and guys, everyone. And then her and Daemon start getting it on. They're kissing, he undoes her top, trousers come off, but in the end, Daemon doesn't go through with it. He angrily punches the wall and then goes away, leaves her on her own. And whether he changed his mind at last minute, realised it was wrong, or he couldn't get it up, I don't know. But it's not the first time we've seen Daemon lacking in the bedroom. But the whole point of this scene, other than getting Daemon and Rhaenyra together, was to show Rhaenyra that sex isn't all about making children and performing one's duty. Daemon tells her that sex can be enjoyable not just for men, but women as well. And whilst this is going on, Viserys, who isn't far now from a rotting corpse, has sent a servant to get his wife in the middle of the night. And this is the Westeros version of you up text. Alicent doesn't want to do it, but it's our queenly duty. And we get the most awkward sex scene so far, and this is likely when their third child is conceived. And the episode mentioned earlier the concept of a highborn woman being a prisoner, and that's exactly what Alicent is. She gets a lot of hate from Fire and Blood. She's definitely less loved than Rhaenyra in the books, but the show has done an excellent job of making you feel for her. And I so appreciate that, because this is not good versus bad, heroes versus villains. There are villains on both sides of the upcoming conflict. And I do think House of the Dragon will make some people consider their choices they made in Fire and Blood, whether you were on the blacks or the greens or somewhere in between. So yeah, whilst Viserys and Alicent are doing their thing, Rhaenyra sneaks back into the Red Keep, and she is horny. So Sir Criston Cole, her sworn protector of the Kingsguard, gets the honour of a lifetime and gets to sleep with the princess. It's tasteful, it's sexy, but at the same time it's so dangerous. That was not in the job description. And of course spies have seen Rhaenyra outside. And Daemon didn't make much of an effort to hide their famous long silver-haired locks once they got into the brothel. So maybe he wanted to be seen. And that they have. A young boy reports to Otto Hightower that the princess was spotted outside in King's Landing and in a brothel. And this young boy is working for the White Worm, Mysaria, Daemon's former lover, who in the morning is caring for him. And Daemon is rather hungover, and he's a bit of an ass when he's hungover. And does this mean that Mysaria and Otto Hightower are now working together to bring Daemon down? Or is somehow Daemon involved in this and he wanted to be caught? Or has she found a new position after Daemon ditched her on Dragonstone to go fight in the Stepstones? Remember, she feared for her life, and maybe working for the Hand of the King is her new safety net. Well, whatever happened, Otto brings the bad news to the king, and the king finally realises Otto's intentions, or at least admits them. Otto wants to further his political career and get his grandson, Aegon, on the Iron Throne. And I think Viserys has always known this, but it's only now he accepts it, until Rhaenyra was followed and has been snitched on by the man that he trusts the most. And obviously Alicent is still present from the previous night, so she's overheard this. And she performs her step-motherly duty and confronts Rhaenyra. And the accusation is that she was caught carrying on with Daemon. Nobody knows about Sir Criston Cole, so keep that in mind. And we all know how important a maiden's virginity is, especially when you're the princess. But Rhaenyra swears on her dead mother that her and Daemon never had sex, which of course they didn't. And many are questioning Rhaenyra's morals here, whether she lied or not. She's obviously managed to talk her way out of this. She never admitted to sleeping with Daemon, but nobody accused her of what she'd really done. And they were kissing and touching, but that was not the accusation. The accusation was they slept together. And remember, this episode reminds us several times, if she was a guy, nobody would care. Daemon and Viserys admit that they were riding everything that moved when they were younger, and that was fine. You were probably a man, a legend. But Rhaenyra is a girl, so she doesn't get away with it. And as a princess, it's 10 times, if not 1,000 times worse for her. And as for Daemon, he is dragged before the king. He doesn't deny anything, nor admits to it. But as the episode states, it's not the truth that matters, but rather what everyone perceives as the truth. And Daemon, who is not in a favourable position, asks the king for Rhaenyra's hand in marriage. In the old ways of Valyria, he will take more than one wife. He will take her as she is, as the realm perceives her. And obviously this pisses Viserys off. He beats Daemon at knife point and banishes him once again to the Vale. But this time it looks like it's for good. And it would be so funny if Caraxes popped his head in the window asking, do we have a problem here? But yeah, as for Rhaenyra, Alicent sticks up for her, but she's not getting away scot-free. She's summoned before her father, who shows her the secret of the Song of Ice and Fire hidden within the Valyrian steel dagger that once belonged to Aegon the Conqueror. And just like the One Ring, it hides a secret only fire can tell. Viserys reinforces the need for Rhaenyra to grow up and accept her responsibility. not just to smile and wave at nobles and common folk alike, not just to perform her duties and make children, but also to pass on Aegon's dream of the Long Night. So Viserys forces Rhaenyra to marry Laenor Velaryon, which she does agree to, if Viserys removes Otto Hightower as Hand of the King. So yes, Viserys goes through with it. He thanks Otto for his services, not only to himself, but also to his grandfather, King Jaehaerys. Because remember, Otto served 2 kings. But now he's gone, but it's perhaps too late. Queen Alicent has gone from Otto's pawn to just as manipulative as her father, if not more so because she shares the king's bed and has gave him children. But before it all ends, the Grand Maester brings Rhaenyra a cup of moon tea, which is basically the Westeros version of Plan B. We never see her do this, but I imagine she will. The realm thinks that she slept with Daemon, but in fact, she slept with her sworn protector. Something that remains a secret between the two of them, but it's so awkward now. But I imagine it won't remain a secret for very much longer. And guys, what an episode. Last week we had dragons and battles. This week we go politics, scandals and sexy times. And that's Game of Thrones in a nutshell. From one extreme to the other, and nobody does it better. This could well be my favourite episode of the 4, but we'll have to see that on more rewatches. Never judge it by just one time only. And this episode has a lot of rewatchability. There's certain scenes I'm sure we're all going to go back and analyse. Yeah, you know what I mean. But on a serious note, the sex scenes in this episode were tasteful. A lot of them in Game of Thrones were tasteful, but a lot of them were just too much. And the whole term sex position was birthed from that. But Game of Thrones had some good sex scenes as well. Tasteful stuff, especially between lovers. Such as Jon Snow and Ygritte, or Jon and Dany, or Robb and his wife Talisa. They were all very well done. Whereas some of the scenes were straight out of a porno. But of course it depends on the context. And I think House of the Dragon has done a brilliant job so far. Very tasteful, very well done, and I think having a woman director was a huge factor in that. But it's still not an episode you want to watch with your mum or dad, nor your uncle or your niece. It's a wild episode and I can't wait for episode 5. This is the best show on TV, hands down, but guys, I want you to post your thoughts on House of the Dragon, episode 4. I would ask you guys what your favourite scene was, but I can imagine what it was, you dirty people. I think that'll do it for today, so I'll say thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.